Morning guys, for today's data structure challenge. Given an array and a subarray size, you can call this subarray a chunk. Write a function to create many subarrays to store the array elements where each subarray has the specified subarray size. Here are two test data as the input and the expected output as below. The first test data, we have two arguments. The first argument is an array with 4 elements, while the second argument will be the subarray size, which is 2. After you pass in these two arguments to the function, the expected output will be as you can see here. There will be one array. Inside the array, there will be another 2 subarray. The first subarray will have 2 elements, 1 and 3, while the second subarray will have another 2 elements, 2 and 3. The second test data will have the same first argument with 4 elements, while the second argument is 3. Expected output will be 2 subarray as well, but the first subarray will have 3 elements, 1, 3, and 2, while the second subarray will have the last element, 3. For this solution, the first thing we're going to do is that we are going to create a result array. This array will be storing many subarrays, and the next step is we will be using a for of loop to iterate this original array. This is the given array. We're gonna use the for loop to iterate it. For each iteration, we're gonna do some checking. And inside this for loop, we will be creating the last subarray. The last subarray we can create based on the last element of this result array. Let's say, for example, this result array have 2 arrays. We're gonna grab the last one and assign to this last subarray. So this last subarray always retrieve from the result array during each iteration of the for loop. So for the first loop, you're going to check for this element 1, and we're going to check the last subarray, is it there or not. If the last subarray exists, then we're going to push in this element to the last subarray. But during the first loop, the last subarray definitely does not exist. We can check using the undefined. If the last subarray is equals to undefined, the type of last subarray is equals to undefined, it means that the last subarray does not exist. If so, we're gonna create the last subarray and push this last subarray into result array. Okay, I'm going to create this last subarray. At the same time, it does 2 things. The first thing is it creates the last subarray. At the same time, actually the last subarray is already created during for loop, just that it's not yet pushed to the result array. So during the first loop, we're gonna push the last subarray together with the current element, push it into the result array. For the second loop, I'm gonna check whether the last subarray exists or not. Yes, the last subarray exists. we are not going to create the last subarray. We are not going to push any new subarray to the result array. Instead, we are going to push the current element into the last subarray, which is 3. For the third loop, again, I'm going to check whether the last subarray exists or not. Now, the last subarray exists. But the problem is that the last subarray already full. So we need to add another condition to check. If the last subarray size match with the given subarray size, we will be creating another last subarray. Not that we want to create, it's already there, just that we are going to push this last subarray into the result array. Push it together with the current element. Check again whether subarray exists or not. Now the last subarray move from here to here. I'm going to check whether the last subarray exists or not. Yes, the last subarray exists, and this last subarray is not full. If it's not full, we're going to push the current element to the last subarray. We're going to repeat this until all the elements finish. Until we finish iterate all the elements of the original array. Let's dive into the code to write the solution using JavaScript. Here I have a method. I call it create subarrays, and I use console.log to call the method to pass in 2 arguments. The first one is the array with 4 elements. The second one will be the subarray size. Subarray size. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we create the result array. Initialize the result array. This is the big array, and in this result array we will be having many subarrays. So using the solution that we discussed just now, we're gonna use the for loop to iterate the array. For elements of array, this is the given array. So inside the for loop, we will be creating the subarray. I'll call this last subarray. So this last subarray will be from the result array. We want to grab from this big array and to grab the last array of this result array. So result ARR, how do we know the last array of this result array? We can use the ARR dot length -1. For example, inside there are 3 subarray. So we first get the length of this result array -1. It will be the last subarray. After creating this last subarray, the next thing is we can do the checking. And we're going to check whether this last subarray exists or not. So how do we check? We can use the undefined to check. For the first time, when you run this code, the last subarray will be undefined. It means that there is nothing there. and if there's nothing there, we're gonna create the new subarray and push it into the result array. So here we can say result array dot push. We're gonna push in a new subarray. This will be the first subarray. So inside this array, we can add in our elements. Else, this will be the second loop. Second loop for this second argument 2, you will come in here and check whether the array exists or not. Yes, the array exists. You won't need to create a new subarray. Instead, what we need to do is we use the last subarray. Because subarray exists, we're going to use the last subarray and push the current element, which is 2. So we managed to have the first subarray with 2 elements in it. The next element, number 1, come in here. You're gonna check whether the last subarray exists or not. Yes, it exists. We cannot push it here. Why? Because the last subarray already full. As you can see, the specified subarray size is 2. And now our last subarray is also maximized already. The length is also 2, the size is also 2. So what we need to do is we can add additional condition here and check the length. Last subarray dot length. If the length is equals to the subarray size, it means that it's already full. We need to create a new subarray to store the third element using this same line here. Result array dot push element. That's it. At the end, we return the results array. Okay, sorry for a little bit mistake. I should have add this type of here. We're gonna check the type of this last subarray. If it's equals to undefined, then you push the first subarray together with the current element to the result array. That's the first loop. And second loop will come into this else condition. Because the last subarray exists, you push the current element into the last subarray. And for the third loop, because the subarray already full, how do we know? We can add the additional checking here. Last subarray dot length is equals to the subarray size, which is here. We'll create a new subarray for the current element, push into the result array. And for the fourth loop, because the last subarray exists with 1 element, we're going to push the current element to the last subarray, and we are done. So if I change this to 3, you can see that the subarray will have the size to hold 3 elements, while the second subarray will store the last element. You can also shorten the code by using exclamation mark, because undefined is also considered false. You can see you have the same output. For a second solution, we can use another approach. For this approach, we need to use a built-in method from JavaScript called slice. If you look up the official document, the slice method returns a shell copy of a portion of an array into a new array object selected from begin to end. The end is not included, where begin and end represent the index of items in that array. The original array will not be modified. So we have an example here, animal array with 5 elements. If we slice from 2 to 4, we know that arrays start from 0, 0, 1, 2, and this is 3, and this is 4. Because it says the end is not included, the output will be camel and duck. For the second solution, using slice, this is the algorithm. The pseudocode is this: while index is less than the original array size, use index to slice from and n plus index. N is basically the given subarray size, which is 2. For this example, to slice all the elements into the subarray into a subarray and push the subarray into the result array. Then we increase the index by n and we end the while loop. So we continue this until the index is greater than the original array size. So before the while loop, we can initialize the index to 0. 0 is less than 6. In this example, there are 6 elements. So we use the index to pass the index value and n plus index. Pass these two arguments into the slice method to take 2 elements, the first 2 elements, drop into the subarray, and then push the subarray into the result array. Then we increase the index by n. So now the index is 2. Second loop, the index is now 2. 2 is less than 6. We take the index again, which is 2, n plus index, n is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. We're going to slice from 2 to 4. 2 to 4 is this element, 2 and 5. I'm going to slice from the original array 2 and 5 into a subarray, and we push this subarray into the result array. And we increase the index by n, which is now the index is 4. 4 is less than 6. Again, we use the same formula. We slice from 4. 4 plus n is 6. 4 to 6. 4 to 6 is these two elements, 1 and 2. Slice from the original array into subarray and push into result array. At the end of the third loop, the index become 6. 6 less than the original array is false. While loop is over, and we return the result array back. Let's write the code for the second solution. The first thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna initialize the index to 0, and we're gonna use the while loop to check the index. As long as the index is less than the original length, the original array length, we're gonna do a few things here. We are going to slice the original array based on the index. So the original array, we're going to use the slice method. The slice method will accept 2 arguments. The first argument is you want to slice from where to where. So the index is 0. I'm going to slice from index to index plus the subarray size. So the subarray size 2, the index is 0. We're going to slice from 0 to 2. 0 to 2 will be these 2 elements. And after you slice, you can push it to the results array, which I haven't declared here. Const results array. Results array dot push. Okay, slice the first 2 elements and push it to the result array. Then don't forget to increase the index by the subarray size. So at the end of the first loop, the index is now 2. Second loop, 2 is less than 6. We're gonna slice again. We're gonna slice from 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. You want to slice from 2 to 4. 2 to 4 will be these 2 elements, 1 and 3. Slice this 1 and 3 and push it into result array. At the end of the second loop, the index is now 4. The third loop, 4 less than 4, false. We are done. Return results array. Right. Sorry, I'm gonna change this to 2. This is the output. You can change to 3 to test it. We get the expected output. And this is the second solution. using slice and a while loop. The same solution can be written using for loop as well if you want to make it more concise. So over here we can replace the while loop with a classic for loop. The index is the loop counter. The starting of the loop counter is 0, and we want to keep looping as long as the index is less than the array length. This is where we want to end the loop. Similar with the while loop, the condition over here, and each time you loop in the for loop, you want to increase the index by 2, so index is equals to index plus the sub array size. So what we are doing basically over here is we move this part into here. Basically this is the step, we call it the step. Right, that's it. To make it more readable, we can also create a subarray here to store this section, and we put this subarray at the bottom just to make it more readable. And because we use a for loop, the index already initialized inside the classic for loop, we no longer need to initialize the index. Okay, same solution, one with while loop, another one with classic for loop. The next solution we can use to solve this problem is to use another JavaScript function called splice. Let's look at the original documentation for splice. The splice method changes the content of an array by removing or replacing existing elements and or adding new elements in place. The difference between splice with a P and slice is splice change the original array. For example, if this is the original array, January, March, April, June, when we put a splice here to the original array will have this modification. You'll see the modification of the original array. Either you add additional elements or you remove the element from the original array. From here we can see that it is adding the extra element into the original array. In where? In the first position over here. The algorithm for this splice solution, while original array size greater than 0, use index and AND to splice all elements from the original array into a new subarray and push the subarray into the result array. So over here, during the first loop, we will splice these two elements from the original array. Let me copy this. Okay, we will splice. That means we will remove two elements and we will move two elements from the original array to a new subarray, and then we push the subarray into result array. At the end of the first loop, the original array will have only 4 elements. Remember, splice basically modify the original array. Original array have 6 elements, and after splice, the original array left 4 elements. Second loop, you're gonna check again. Original array size is now 4. 4 is still greater than 0. Again, it will splice the next 2 elements from the original array, which is this one, 2 and 5. Extract these 2 elements, move into a subarray, and push the subarray into result array. So we will be getting this. At the end of the second loop, the original array left 2 elements. On the third loop, now the original array length is 2. 2 is still greater than 0. You will continue to splice another 2 more elements. The first 2 elements, extract the first 2 elements, put into the new subarray, and push the subarray into the result array. At the end of the third loop, the original array will have no more elements, which means the array size is now 0. 0 greater than 0, false. The loop ends and return the result array. Let's write the code. The first thing we're going to do is that we are going to create the result array as usual. And then we're going to write the while loop. While original array length is greater than 0, as we have discussed in our algorithm solution just now, as long as the array length, the original array length is more than 0, we will use the splice function. So here we can create the subarray to store the splice element. Array.splice, we're going to splice from where? From 0 to the subarray size. The subarray size is 2. So 0 to 2 will be these 2 elements. Splice it out and move to the subarray, and then we push it to the result array. And at the end, as usual, we return the result array. There you go. Same output using splice function. Let's change it to 3 to test it. Yes, you're getting the expected output. The first element, the first subarray will have 3 elements, and the second one have the other elements.